I have found a new AI writer that you are going to be obsessed with. I know I am, and especially after a really hard month, I needed to speed up my writing because I had nothing published yet. So this tool was able to help me speed things up without sacrificing quality. And it was incredibly easy, like so easy. So I'm really excited to share this with you. Today, we're going to talk about Hypertxt AI, which is a new, not just AI writer, it's kind of a one-click AI toolkit almost. I guess a couple clicks because there's a few little tools, but it is so helpful. And as a control freak, it gave me that right balance of I need to be in control of my content and make it unique and have it sound like me. And I'm really lazy and my chronic illness is flaring up and it's winter and I would kind of like to hibernate. So it had that perfect sweet spot in between. And today we're going to cover exactly how you can use it to write content faster without losing any of your content quality. Thank you to Hypertext AI for sponsoring this video. All opinions in this are my own. However, they did ask me to do this video and they allowed me to have free access to an account. That way I could do so. But that doesn't mean I'm sugarcoating anything. We're going to get into the good, the bad, the ugly, the Nina is way too obsessed and had a hyperfixation, like needed to pull herself away from her laptop. And in this video, we're going to get to all of it. But I do want to thank them for sponsoring this to allow me to do that. They've also given you guys a gift. So if you want to try out Hypertext after watching this video, use the code Hypertext, but TXT. So take the E out. HYPERTXT. To get 50% off your first month. I'm going to have a link for you in the description of this video so that you can grab it really easily. However, the code is not applied yet, so make sure you add that code on. Now, who wants to write some blog posts faster? So Hypertext does have a free trial. Honestly, I don't think it really showcases it that well. However, you can sign up to it from their homepage, but they do have very well-priced plans that are honestly so well priced for what you get. So they have a $15 a month plan that gets you 10 articles, and then those upgraded plans get you additional things like auto linking, where it will link to sources for you. I find a lot of people really struggle with finding external sources right now for some reason, and so they take that out of your hands. Super easy. So when you're inside of Hypertext, the first thing it's going to ask you to do is set up your account. So when you're setting up the account, it does want to get to know you and your business, but most importantly, it wants to get to know your writing style. And I think it does an amazing job of this. So this is the writing style I had it create based on an email that I wrote. I just grabbed like an old email of mine that was on how a cookie from Starbucks made me not become a lawyer. Kind of a random one. And so then from that, it decided to make basically a style guide like this that is so in-depth, it's wild to me. Even ChatGPT usually just wants to tell you like one sentence about your writing style. This picked up on me so perfectly that I was like, oh my God, I need to take this to my therapist. Like I've been seen. And then it'll give you actually a preview so you can figure out if it's getting it right. I also love that unlike a lot of AI that like learns my tone of voice, because I think because it's so casual, they decide that they're going to use a ton of emojis, and this doesn't do that. And I love that you can come back and edit it, but also that you can see for free, this is a free preview, which is so great, exactly what this tone of voice is going to do to your outputs so that you make sure you're not wasting credits figuring out what tone of voice is right for you. Now, my favorite part of it, though, is the collect research section. So here you're able to actually get it to do the research for you. Now, one of my case study sites that I have that I just do to test some stuff on is related to dogs. And so with that, in the summer of 2024, there was a ton of stuff happening around dog cruises. People were all getting like up in arms about like, we need dog cruises. Then we got one a little bit later. It was a whole thing. But if I typically went somewhere and said, give me research on dog cruises, it's going to say there aren't any. Because that's what like the majority of documents out there that are more historical will say, because there didn't used to be. But now there's like literally a dog-friendly cruise that is like, everyone needs to bring a dog, basically, that went like really viral. And because of that, I want to get updated information that's going to reflect that stuff. So you can actually select when the sources were published. That way you make sure that you're getting the most up-to-date information and the most accurate. Now, you don't always want more recent stuff. Maybe you want to disprove like a myth that's going around. So you can also go more historic. I really love this control. And this is my favorite part. Everyone keeps talking about how Hypertext uses Reddit. So you can like have it pull from Reddit. I don't know if they're not like subreddits. It's like the individual threads in a subreddit. I don't know what the term for that is because I don't really use Reddit personally. So I just like have seen them, but it'll pull those. However, what I think is way, way cooler is that it can pull research papers and PDFs. So it can only look at specific types of sources for you to collect research. That is amazing. Like, as someone who has like special formulas I type into Google to find just PDFs or research papers, as someone who like hates news, like doesn't want to comb through news stories, I can then get exactly what I need. And this is great because it typically gives you about 10 sources. I think it only gives you 10. I've never had it give me more than 10, but I don't know for 100%. But of those 10, I get to select which ones are the most accurate for me. Sometimes there's 1 or 2 that haven't been accurate, but usually like 9 to 10 of them are ready to go. But sometimes you just want 10 PDFs or you just want 10 research papers. I don't want to waste my time with personal sites. Well, now I can actually select that, which is so helpful. I also love these advanced options here where you can include certain domains or exclude certain domains. If, for example, like if I'm writing about Ontario, Canada, not Ontario, California, I can make sure I come in here and put the domain of Ontario, California, their tourism board in exclude. That way it doesn't get pulled for me. So it's kind of the equivalent of having like an advanced intern coming in and doing your research for you. Now the Reddit results, I do really like. I think they're really cool. It can go through the entire like post and all the comments that people had. So it can pull 10 of those and all of their comments, and then it'll summarize them for you. So if we go back to my dashboard, you can see my research at the bottom here. I like to navigate this way. You can click research specifically, but I had it go through and find me some custom GPTs for SEO. And so you can see it's going to tell us the source. And then if I click on this, it'll actually take me to that source. When it was previewing it for me, it gave me the year that it happened. It gave me the name of it, and it gave me like some rough information on what was going to be, like what it could pull, essentially, like a little preview. So here I was able to make sure that I'm only selecting ones that are going to be relevant to my post. And what I really like is that it adds additional links to different sections to help me, where's another example here, to help me like not have to go hunt them down. So for this one, because I'm trying to figure out a custom GPT that I might want, well, it actually links all these custom GPTs for me to go try. And as a certified lazy girl, I didn't want to have to go search them, especially because for some of these, like SEO copywriting, if I click on it, it actually has a different name. So I would have not been able to figure that out fully without clicking. So I really appreciate its ability to do that. I also love a table of contents, and I love that it gets that your research isn't always going to be just your keyword. So many times when I've like looked at things like this before, the tool basically is like, okay, we'll do your research and then we're making something out of that immediately. Like you can't merge a bunch of research, but it actually gives me blog post ideas based on this. So it's like, okay, SEO strategies using custom GPTs. So maybe rather than it being something that is just a list of GPTs, maybe I want it to like go more in depth into a full-on strategy step by step. But I also love that if you do want to make an article from the whole thing, you can just click create article from research and you'll see it'll reference this research as it goes. Now to make articles without that, you would just go to the article area and click new article and then right away. Again, I think this is kind of cool for a one-click because it gives you the flexibility where you don't have to give a bunch of information. But as someone who always wants to give more information, I am a wordy lady. I love that I can input more stuff here. So I can put in my topic or keyword, the intended audience, and as someone with an audience avatar that like I have pre-written, it copy and pasted in, it was good to go. It also, you can do secondary keywords and then custom instructions. So anything you want it to avoid, anything you want it to include. I also like roughly played around with giving it like the tiniest version of an outline. It didn't take like it perfectly in order. It added extra stuff, but I actually think it improved on it. So good for me. Now I was mostly playing with just automatic rather than having specific types of posts. But if for some reason what you're trying to write about, maybe it's not super clear immediately, you can actually tell it, oh, I want this certain type of post. And I think that's really nice to have that ability. To be honest, I didn't really need it. And I found that like it would then tell me which one it decided it was, and it did a good job of it. So I felt fine with it. But if for some reason you needed something different, you do have that option. Then you select your style, you select your word count. I find it always goes over this word count. I don't know why. I'm fine with that. I mean, as a wordy girl, I'm okay with it. So from the articles, I also want to show you what an outline looks like. So when you first make it, you have the option for it to give you an outline of what it's going to include. So I tested it with a 3-day Toronto itinerary, which is one of the topics I'm going to use for a summit that I'm hosting very soon at the end of March, so stay tuned. But here you can see we have an outline. Now I can drag and drop things between the outline. I can go in and edit if I want to. I can add links. I can do whatever I need to do. I can even delete stuff if I don't want things in there. And I can add additional sections. But let's say I don't want to edit anything, then we would just generate our article immediately, and it's really quick. What I appreciate here is that it pulses for me, and it actually live updates. So I don't have to refresh the screen or anything as an impatient girly. The longest one I had took I think somewhere around 27 seconds. So they work really quickly, which is very nice. Now I do want to show you what it looks like to write without the research and with the research to see the differences. So this is one of the articles I wrote when I had the free plan, just to give it a test to make sure it seemed cool enough. And I found it got my tone of voice right. It did a good job. I don't think it did the greatest job because mostly it went more into ways you could use custom GPTs. But you'll notice, first of all, that there's no links in it. So that's immediately less helpful. The free plan doesn't include linking, so that makes sense. But it's also not naming any specific GPTs. When we go into, there we go, the one that actually has research, you'll immediately see how much better it is. So it's shorter sections. I will say it doesn't hit enter as much as I want. I don't know why AI just doesn't feel okay with that, but I kind of like it because it does force you to actually take time to go through and make sure you're proofreading, make sure you're editing it a bit. But it gives me all of the links that I need, which I appreciate. And it has links to bonus extra bits within Reddit as well. So we're not just getting links to the individual GPTs. And then it went a step further, which is another part that I enjoy about this, is it starts with exactly what you've asked for, and then it kind of expands. Now, a big part of my AIDA keyword strategy and the way that I write blog posts is that it's all part of an ecosystem. So one blog post doesn't exist on its own. It needs to connect to the next thing. And what it does really well within this tool is it does that. It thinks about, okay, here are the custom GPTs. Now what? Should you be using these? Is this going to hurt you? What are some limits that you might need to know? Use cases, tips for using it, a comparison. But I don't think I needed all of these necessarily, but it did a really good job of taking exactly what I asked for, getting to the point, giving helpful information, and then being okay, now what? What do we do with this? And I've not yet seen an AI tool that does it to this extent. I also really appreciate that it gives you the research still. So I can still go back and access it at any time, which is really nice to be able to refer back to if maybe something didn't vibe with me. And it gives me metadata. I hate writing meta descriptions so much. I loathe meta descriptions, but they're a necessary evil. And I love that because it's already writing this, it's already doing the work. We can just copy and paste it over, and then we've got a meta description that's good to go. It also will write a slug. I don't love the slugs. I think that's one part where it falls short. I don't think it understands that your slug should be your keyword. So personally, I would ignore that. That's just my preference. My keywords is usually just directly my slug in the end, but it is something to keep in mind. So I think this is a really great tool, honestly. Is it 100% perfect? Would I copy and paste this in immediately into WordPress and press publish? No. First of all, it's currently, because this one I had just trained on just Reddit data, it's only linking to Reddit and to the custom GPTs. So I think we're missing some stuff there. It doesn't have any internal links yet. Definitely something I need to add to it. And I would love if long term, maybe that's something they could add into this is maybe you give it your sitemap early on, because it's doing such a good job of knowing your tone of voice and knowing your style. It wouldn't be very hard for it to understand the other posts that it could add in. Then I also think we need to number this list, first of all, and we need to slightly de-optimize it. In this case, because custom GPTs for SEO or SEO GPT, or SEO custom GPT, is the keyword, it's using it a lot. And that makes sense that it's doing that, but I just want to be careful because it does feel because it's such a short keyword, like it started overdoing it a bit. I don't think it did that in every single article. I ran a bunch and I actually asked my profitable part-time blogger students if they wanted some, and then got their feedback as well so that they could let me know what they think. Now you might notice something interesting. All of these were done in January and February of 2025, but it keeps saying 2024 in the titles. First of all, I'm not a big fan of having the year in the title anymore. I think unless it's like something that does change every year, it's not always the best use of your character amount. I even think this like best time to go to Mexico City one might be too long. I don't actually know how many characters that is off the bat, but it looks too long to me. Then it's pulling 2024, I think because of the data it was getting trained on. That's something that they could stand to update, but we're pretty new into 2025 at this point, so it's like not that big of a surprise. But I wanted to look at how it wrote a review, because I think this is going to be a really important one to go off of, because review posts, especially product reviews, take a lot of time and they're hard, honestly, especially for something like WP Rocket. People have been asking me to do a review for forever, and I'm not very techie, so I felt a bit weird doing it. So I was like, I can, but I'm not necessarily going to understand every single term. I'm going to need to like go through it for sure. And like, we'll need to edit this if I'm ever going to publish it, which I do plan to. It's pretty close, to be honest. So here we have our intro. I like that it does a pretty solid intro, except that I think it could ask me for more of my expertise. But to be fair to it, I didn't put any of my expertise specifically, other than that I used WP Rocket in the instructions. So I should have been more specific there. Then we have like a history of WP Rocket. Personally, not a fan of those in a review, but I think that's okay. I do like that it has like the key features, ease of setup, pricing, things like that. It links to where I can actually check the pricing, which is nice. I would have loved inside of this though to have had like subheadings and maybe bullet points or like sub-numbered lists or something in here. Again though, this was like, I clicked it and it just ran. And so I have 3,000 words to work with. I would say it's like very close to being done personally, but like I would edit it a bit. And I love that it like sounds like me, like literally me saying, I love how it does this. That's been my review of this tool. Like we're getting meta here. But I think that's really lovely that it understands enough to work with you. Of course, there's still some editing that needs to happen, but we're really close to a complete post here. Now, there are two other features I wanted to like just touch on really quickly. We have the idea generator, which is so great for never running out of ideas, or if you're me, for sitting here for far too long, continually just like searching topics and getting a bit obsessed and maybe needing a slight intervention from your service dog because you've been hunched over the computer for a few hours. I think it does a really good job coming up with real-time research. So let's say dog airline, because we just had a new one announced recently, and let's see what comes up. Maybe it's just a dog-friendly airline. But it's going to actually go and do some real-time research. This is the slowest loading section, I would say, that I found most of the time, but it's not like slow, as you saw here. So this is going to pull up a bunch of information for me in articles. It looks like it's mostly pulling Bark Air, but like literally 5 minutes ago, like very, very recently, Retriever Air or something just came up on my phone. So I don't think we have enough yet, but I do think we're almost there. And to be honest, we are not, most of us anyway, aren't journalists, so we're not launching immediately. Like we're waiting a minute to get more information. Bark Air is still pretty new as well, so this does make sense. And when I say like dog airline, the fact that it's pulling the latest one it has, so it's not going to pull Canine Jets or some of the other ones that came before. We also have article ideas, so here you can actually get some ideas with it that you can create content. It's very much like the ideas you're going to get in the research area, except it's going to have like a full title. I don't love all of the titles, but I think that they do get you there like pretty well to what you want. I just find that like sometimes they're not as clear as I would love, but I think the important thing is that once you go to create it, you can adjust it. So here we have like the rise of pet-friendly airlines, choosing the best airline for your dog, a review of one that I've never heard of before, comparing costs. Like a lot of these are really good. And in fact, when I taught a session on trending topics for pet air travel or pet travel, these were a lot of the examples I came up with. Now, I actually haven't done their keyword research section yet because I only had 5 free and I wanted to make sure I did it in front of you. So I wanted to pull up the stats so that we can take a look at them. Wow, that was really fast. Oh my God. Okay, so I did WP Rocket review. If we have related keywords, it gives you, oh my God, a lot of keywords. That's surprising to me. Like, that's really nice. That's great. Then we have the competition score, a monthly volume score, and search trends, which I guess is like which months it does the best in. So in key search, it looks like we have 720 volumes, still a little bit different. I'm interested to see, like, this one shows really a peak kind of mid-year. Oh, it says 720. Oh, cool. So it's showing me the monthly volume for like more recently. That's interesting. Where it looks like key search is averaging like the highest amount then. That's really interesting. I've never noticed that. Okay, so it looks like it does peak in summer there. And here we have like minor peak, and then it looks like January might pop up. They don't have that reflected. Let's try another one for friendly airline. And let's see what happens with this one. Okay, we've got another competition, 9 out of 100, monthly volume 4,400, and then, yeah, it looks like it's like pulling specifically from a single month. The related keywords, yeah, those are really good related keywords. These are like legitimately related, which is really nice. So if you get overwhelmed by keyword research, as long as you have the base keyword, like I don't love that it's not suggesting other keywords that might be better, and it's not letting you compare keywords. But if you like know your topic, you know the keyword you want to write on, and you're not really sure about secondary keywords, I don't know that I would use every single one of these, but a fair number of these would make sense. And I would also say some of them might be more like must words, like words that you just mentioned, not really a keyword. But a lot of these like are definitely relevant, which is really cool. I didn't think that they would be that on par, to be honest. So I would say helpful, worth it. You see what I mean? Like, it's a really cool AI tool. I'm genuinely shocked about the keyword research being as decent as it was. But the main thing that I'm still obsessed with this is the research. I love that you can get all of that research in one place, that it saves you so much time, and that then it can inspire itself. I don't think it's like a one-click, walk away kind of thing. Now, I know some people are using that more so for social media if they're trying to get like clicks from Facebook pages and things like that. And I can see that working for Facebook groups. But if you're going to use this for SEO, I would edit. And that's something I say anyway, because honestly, a one-click AI writer isn't you. And your audience is coming to hear from you. So I think it's better to just go through, especially as you're hitting enter to make sure those paragraphs are shorter, to really go through and make sure you're adding in a little bit more of your fairy dust. How does this compare to other AI tools I've used? It is eons ahead of Search for SEO. I hated their AI tool when I used it. You can find that video on my channel of me being very critical of it. I think it compares, honestly, I actually think it compares most to Reword, which isn't a one-click AI writer, but it's the closest thing that can do research at this scale. Reword requires more effort on your behalf. So this is kind of I'd say it's almost like Koala meets Reword, I guess, if that makes sense. I have reviews of both of those on my channel if you don't know what either of those terms means. If you're doing anything non-SEO traffic related, you would need way fewer edits for this. And even with SEO, honestly, most of them I would have been ready to publish, to be honest, if I wasn't such a control freak. Thank you again to Hypertxt for sponsoring this video. I want to remind y'all that you can get your first month 50% off. I'd love to hear from you if you've used it, if you liked it, what you think about one-click AI writers generally, because I know they're a bit contentious. So I'd love to have like an open dialogue about that in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, check out the video on screen now, which is my SEO strategy for 2024-2025 and how I've updated it to handle things like the helpful content updates and things like Google being way more into Reddit than ever before. So check it out. That way you can make sure that when you're using a one-click AI writer or any type of AI writer, that you're really making sure that your content is still able to rank and is going to get you that organic traffic that you want. Otherwise, you're just screaming into the void with this content if no one's seeing it. I've had so much fun chatting today, and I'll see y'all soon. Have a lovely day. Bye.